You got second, go figure. I mean, it was close. Okay, can we actually, like, save the game this time? And see what happens? Dome. Alright, let's see. Do we unlock those tracks in freestyle now? We did. Okay. Now, I want to go back, because I do want to see options. Intermediate, advanced, streaker. Okay, so that would leave 2 and 2. Okay, so what I'm going to assume is going to happen is once you beat... Hold on. I gotta look something up after this. But I'm trying to figure out why it says you can use DualShock, but you can't with the PS3. Let me look that up real quick. PS1 games on PS3. DualShock. How do I use analog stick for PS1 classics? I switched the settings from digital mode to analog mode, but when I try to play the game, it doesn't let me move. Some games do not support analog mode because they were made before DualShock was released. Unfortunately, you can't. I always remember hating the analog sticks and wondering why in the hell people would ever use them. Well, because they're awesome. When PS2 came along and I had to play some FPS, I wonder why the whole genre that relies on such awful controls, I have to use 2 analog sticks at the same time. Had whatever. So the streak, Hoverboard Racing, analog sticks. I was just curious if there's anything on here. I was just trying to find if there's anything in here about the analog sticks. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything in here about that. Yeah, I don't know. Because I've played other PS3 games, I mean PS1 games on PS3, and I'm pretty sure you can use the analog stick. I will have to go grab a game that I know you can use the analog stick and test it. But anyway, that's about all the streak I want to play. I guess I'll do a freestyle to try out another character just to see how other characters play. And then I want to read some stuff. So we did Edge. Let's do Havoc. Havoc seems cool. Handling is really low, though. Well, I'll stick with Winway Park. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if you can actually use analog sticks or not with Streak. It has it here in the manual. I don't know if you can see it, but it has it there in the manual. The analog controller, but I don't see anything in here about being able to actually use it. He actually does not handle that bad. He doesn't spin very fast. So maybe that's what it means by handling. Like he doesn't, well, I mean, he's not as jerky. Like Jade was real jerky, like real sensitive in terms of handling. I'll have to see what her handling was like. Yeah, he's a lot slower when it comes to like the tricks. I've tried to do a backflip with him. So there is handling differences. I kind of like the way he handles better. Because Jade was very touchy. Like, you know, she would go like all over the place if you were like to try to steer her, you know? Where he's like a little bit more firm. And I kind of like that better. Although I don't know how well I'll do with like the stunts. He's a lot slower to do the stunts. That's for sure. He is a lot slower to do the stunts, but he's much faster in general. I mean, our guy, like our speed has been relatively almost maxed out. Well, I wouldn't say maxed out, but at least 3/4 of the way the entire race, right? So not bad. All right, so for some reason I can't do analog. Like I said, I'll go grab a game that I know for sure has analog control, and we'll see. We'll see what that gets. Real quick. Where does it start at? I'll start with Kat. Kat is 19. Her streak is pink. Kat gets her feline agility from years of gymnastics. She never got over the death of her father, and now she streaks near her wild child older brother, Philip. Is there a Philip in here? Yes, there is. Okay. Oh, they're not in order of the book? That's annoying. Alright, Sierra. Susan Nathaniel. Oh, I guess Kat's real name is Catherine Aragon. Susan Nathaniel, 26. Streak is mint. An orphan and a true lover, Sierra finds peace only when alone in the mountains. A new family awaits her in streaking. I'm just saying, every time I hear streaking, I just think of running around nude, you know? Edge. Real name Eddie Connor, 20. Streak cyan. Edge is a college student and extreme snowboarder. If it weren't for his classes, he would spend all day on the slopes. Pierce. Oh, it's also worth noting, they have different stances, apparently. Goofy, regular, goofy. But anyway, Pierce, real name Philip Aragon, Kat's brother, 23. Streak is red. The death of his father drove this cyclist to the streets. Now, with only his sister for company, Pierce streaks without fear. Havoc. His stance is regular. Real name is Helen Hal Kalalala. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Age 22, streak orange, big, powerful, and quick. This former college running back couldn't control his temper off the field. Now he's graduated from the gridiron to the gym blade. Lame. Grooves. Goofy stance. Name is Gary Shore, 27. Streak is yellow. Grooves is a hardcore summer surfer. Even though he appears relaxed, he is one of the best there is. Jade, my girl Jade. She has a goofy stance? Okay. Real name is Metsu Hirayama, J. Mihu. Age 22, streak green. Family disgrace forced this expert martial artist to fake her own death. Through streaking, she can live again. I read that one before. Mogul. Regular stance. Mogul. Morgan Goodrush, age 25, streak blue. Also, hey, age discrimination. These are all early 20s. Where's like a good like 30, 40-year-old? Probably dead somewhere. Mogul thrives on high-speed downhill skiing in all its forms. His desire for Olympic glory was sidetracked by his passion for streaking. Wheels. Regular stance, full acceleration, although low everything else. Warren Davis, age 17, streak is purple. The poverty of the inner city made Wheels turn to skateboarding as a way to escape. Streaking provides an even better way out. Fatal. Fatal has a regular stance. Real name Faye Whitestone, age 25, magenta streak. Secrecy is nothing new to this recently discharged special ops agent. She has nowhere left to turn but to streaking. There's your streakers. For courses, they gave little... Didn't they give like little like summaries of what the courses are in this? I thought they did. Alright, so let's go. I'm going to pick one. Our tracks, Windway Loop. There are two types of courses. There's Suicide and Loop. So Windway Park is a loop track. Paint the half pipe with glowing graffiti during a midnight romp through a skate park. Probably the best track in the game. Barnum's Alley is a loop track. Rocket through the Tunnel of Love and the Mirrors of Terror at this deserted carnival midway. One of the worst tracks I've ever played in a racing game. Agua Escondido, I think, is a loop track at a neon splash of color to these forgotten river rapids in the Amazon forest. Pretty good, pretty mid. Saint Mort's, this is a suicide track. Scream like a banshee through the moonlit headstones and eerie catacombs of this graveyard. So I guess the, S-word tracks are the ones where you like loop around each other and stuff. Yeah, not kind of mid. Skyview Highway. Skyview Highway is also a suicide track. Roar past bulldozers and dodge speeding cars on this highway under construction. I liked the idea of it. The more I played it, the more I hated the track. Airy Keep. This is a loop track. Escape the dungeons and sail from the watchtower when you explore this medieval castle. Probably the second best track in the game. Really enjoyed that track. Rearden Forge is a suicide type track. Blaze through a streak of fiery furnaces and steamy metal pipes in a searing steel mill. Probably the worst. This one's probably the worst. It's either that or Barnum's Alley. And then last but not least is Matsuri, which is a loop track. Fly like a dragon over rooftops and burn through ancient temples at this forbidden Japanese village. Mid. The other tracks you have is Mainline, which is a suicide track. Rush through dank and twisted pipes when you surge through an underground sewer system. Darklith Falls is a loop. Dare to brave the darkness, dangerous skull bridges, and heart-wrenching plunge in those lost ruins. Iswald Spitz loop track. Shred the slopes and streak up the avalanche when you pay respects to this alpine resort. And Front Line is a loop. Shoot past the blasted buildings and launch yourself off the husk of train cars at this smoking battlefield. Those are the last tracks. So my guess is once you beat intermediate, you play the next level, which you'll get Mainline and Darklith Falls, and then you play the final difficulty, and you'll get Iswald Spitz and Frontline. Streak the Story Introduction. I pulled into Wineway Park events. Lost just before 1 a.m. I parked near the chain link fence of the entrance, except for the graffiti. The city had been pretty good about keeping the place in shape. Now that it was the dead of winter, it didn't get much use. It was dark, deserted, and silent. Suddenly, a black van pulled up alongside me. The windows were tinted, but the paint was rusted off in spots. The grille was smashed in and partially hid behind metal. The van stopped, but it's left its headlights on. Skid got out. He stepped down and waved me over. I just sat in my car and looked at him. He shook his head and patted himself down as if he was frisking himself. He grinned broadly and waved me over. I told myself I was being paranoid. I turned off the engine, got out of my car. Skid walked around the back of the van, talking as he went. Don't worry, man. There's always like you at first. They're always like you at first. Can't say I blame you. With that, what with all the freaks out here, huh? He opened up the double doors. I cautiously came around to look. Skid lifted something wrapped in black cloth or a tarp of some kind. My first thought that it must be a body, but then I caught a glimpse of something plastic and shiny underneath. Skid struggled like it was very heavy. Give me a hand with this, will you? I helped him pull out the object out of the back of the van. We carried it around to the front where the headlights made it easier to see. Skid set it down gingerly, almost like it was an infant. We placed it on the ground with barely a click. Skid rubbed the dragon tattoo and twisted around the pink scar on his bald head. So Skid was that guy? Let's see now. You're a snowboarding guy, right? Yeah, Eddie Corner. That's right. You're nothing but a smudge now, but I'll change that once you hit the circuit. I blinked at him. I had no idea what he was talking about. The object under the cloth didn't give me any clues either. It was oblong and angular, probably 2 feet wide and about 6 feet long. When I had helped Skid carry it, I noticed the bottom of the thing was completely smooth and flat, kind of like marble. In fact, the whole thing felt heavy and solid and very high-tech. Skid leaned over the object on the ground. He gripped the cloth with both hands and with a wink said, "This is the best part." He pulled off the covering. I stared at the device underneath. It was even more strange than I had imagined. It was jet black. I couldn't tell if it was constructed primarily of metal or plastic, or if it was something else entirely. The van's headlights reflected off of it as though it were wet. Mounted on top were 2 boots, but what really caught my eye was the large crystal that glittered in the center of the thing. Skid watched my face. He started to chuckle to himself. Pretty cool, huh? You ain't seen nothing yet. I walk around the device, slowly noticing the strange curvature. I asked in a whisper, what is it? What we have here, my friend, is a gem blade. Gem because it's power from something the snowman calls gravitation, electromagnetic technology, and blade, I guess, because it kind of looks like a knife, or maybe because the way the thing cuts up, or maybe just because it sounds cool. I knelt down and ran my hand along its surface. What does it do? I asked. Skid knelt down beside me. You want to know, don't you? I looked over at him. He seemed as excited as he whispered, watch this. He put some kind of rod into the top of the gem blade. Immediately the crystal started to flicker within. A bright blue glow rippled up from inside. I stepped back a bit. The gem blade began to throb, and a soft magnetic sounding hum coming from its underside. With a hiss, the entire thing began to slowly rise up from the ground. Sapphire light and luminescent steam poured out of the bottom. I dropped to the ground and looked underneath. The gem blade was floating about a foot from the pavement. I could see it through the other side, but there was a haze as though I was looking through water. The flat underside of the board was a solid glow of brilliant blue. Want to go for a ride, Eddie? Skid smiled. I exclaimed. I examined his face. The light traced circles in his tiny sunglasses. I put my hand on the device and was surprised to discover that it moved only slightly downwards. I ran my hand alongside the edge of the blade. I could feel it gently throbbing beneath my fingers. I started to get excited. I glanced up at Skid. Is this safe? He grinned. At least as safe as snowboarding. I carefully climbed up, amazed that the gem blade supported me so easily. I have suspected it to crash to the ground at any moment. I slipped my feet in the boots, adjusting my balance and shifted my weight. Good. Now you're ready to go, Eddie. All you have to do is lean in the direction you want to go. There are pads underneath the boots that can sense the shift in weight. You'll feel it catch. I leaned a little bit forward and the blade oscillated a bit. The hum increased. All at once, it jerked forward and I righted myself and adjusted my weight and the blade stopped. I had moved 2 or 3 feet. Behind me there was a bright neon glow where I just was. I pointed behind me. Skid, the ground is glowing. This isn't like radioactive, is it? No, not at all. No, nothing like that. It just electrons excited by the gravitational pulse or something crazy. The snowman explained it to me once, but it didn't seem important. Don't worry, the streak is harmless and will go away within a few seconds. Just ride. I looked back. Skid was right. The glow was already fading away. I peered across the empty lot and my heart started pounding as realization struck me. I could go anywhere I wanted, and I leaned a bit forward, prepared for the movement at this time. The gem blade started humming again as I slowly glided forward, a blue ribbon of color on the ground behind me. Skid called out, "You're riding like a smudge, Eddie. Now show me what you got." I don't know what a smudge was, but that was twice now Skid called me that. I didn't particularly care for it. I put my weight in to my lean. The blade revved up and rocketed forward. I squatted down a bit and started cutting turns from my knees. I circled a lot Oh, this is the main line. Cool. Ooh, I guess we'll get to see a little bit of that. He, I circled a lot and blew by Skid. He just stood there rubbing his head and grinning. I quickly discovered that I could slow down simply by leaning backwards against the direction of travel. From there, it was easy to figure out that I could push down with both legs and then hop up. The blade, which had seemed so heavy before, now seemed to weigh almost nothing. I started jumping over the parking blocks scattered around the lot. On a whim, I turned the blade towards the front of my car, my parked car. I popped up and landed on the hood. I skidded across the windshield and launched myself into the air. I cleared the back end and came down on the ground behind it. I circled just in time to see the last remnants of the blue light fading away. I brought the blade back to I brought the blade to a stop next to Skid. He grinned. "You like it?" "Are you kidding? This thing's amazing. I don't know how or why it works, but it's incredible." Skid raised his eyebrows. "It's yours." "Really? No way. You're just going to..." "Wait a minute. What's this all about? Why me? What do you want?" Skid reached over and pulled out a key. The gem blade started to darken, and I gently settled to the ground. With a grin, he said, "As long as you can prove that you're worthy to have it, the key to this gem blade is yours." He handed me the crystal rod. I, however, will babysit the blade itself just to make sure it's safe. I stepped out of the boots, Skid threw the cloth over the blade. Together, we put it back in the van. Before he closed the doors, I noticed several other gem blades tucked away in a similar fashion. There must have been nearly a dozen. Skid walked around and started to get into the van, and I said, "Wait a minute, what's going on here? Who makes these? How do they work? Why?" He paused for a moment in the door, then pulled his glasses down. He looked over the tops of them and said, "There's a race later this week. I'll contact you with what time and location." "A race? Using gem blades? Against who? Are there others?" I asked. He climbed into the seat and started snickering to himself. He ran his hand over his scar again and then closed the door. I stood there and awestruck and watched him drive away. Once he was out of sight, I looked down at the crystal rod in my hand. Dim starlight reflected across its surface. "A race, huh? I'll be there." There's your little story to streak. I probably wouldn't play this again. It's probably like a 4 or 5 out of 10. There are some things I like about it. So for like an example, I like the like trick shots and stuff you can do. Like I say that there's not a lot you can do, but I do like the fact that there's like a reward and punishment system for how you go about doing your tricks. You know, you can just like screw up a trick and get punished for it, kind of thing. But like outside of that, I'm not a huge fan of how the game plays. It's really wonky. It does not play super duper smoothly. It kind of jerks you around all over the place. And on top of that is like some of the tracks are just terrible. Some of the tracks are really, really bad. Okay. Really, really bad. Okay. And I will say I did enjoy this more than I was a kid. Like I said, I hated this game as a kid. I did enjoy it more as an adult, but I think it will probably end up in the for sale pile. So, thanks everybody for watching some of Streak. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see what other games we get into in the future.